I have the extreme pleasure to be standing next to an icon, Mr. Bob Proctor. He's about to go on in a few minutes here at CEO Space. Bob, thank you so much for speaking with us.
It's my pleasure.
So
it's good to be here.
You have a very, very special relationship with Bernie. Tell me about that.
Well, I started CEO Space with Bernie in 1990, 91, something like that. Yeah, it was called the $1 Million Forum. And the first one we did in the Laurentian Mountains in Quebec. Yeah, and that's where it all started. And then we did, I don't know, 6 or 8 of them, I guess, in various different places. And then we split up and went our own ways. We were doing our own thing, and Bernie just kept us going. He's done a great job. I have a good friend of mine. His name's Bernie Dorman.
You've got real problems now. I made it. And then he wrote, when am I teaching at the Forum again?
I know what the guy's been doing for 20 years because I've been working with him on and off for 20 years.
And I didn't have him on the schedule. I had him not on the schedule at all. Didn't send him a schedule, didn't have him on the schedule because I didn't want to tax him. And he goes, I'm teaching at the Forum, aren't I?
Now you keep coming back, and we know you're so busy, and you still come back to CEO Space as faculty. You come and speak. Why is that?
Well, I think this is it's such a great forum to expose people to all kinds of different information that's entrepreneurial in nature from a psychological perspective, but it also helps them make connections. I see there's 3 words involved here. There's consciousness, you raise your consciousness, there's creativity, and there's connections. And you put those 3 things together and you've got something pretty powerful, and that's really what CEO Space is. And so I come back because I've been doing this for 40 years. 50 years ago I started studying this year, and I'm anxious for people to understand this. I think the vast majority of people are wandering around in a bit of a daze. Yeah. They're sleeping and they don't even know it. Like 3% of our population are earning I think 97% of all the money that's being earned. Now there's something wrong there, and it's not because people are stupid, because there's a lot of smart people. They're having trouble finding work. They could create work. They're creative beings. They're having trouble getting by financially. They could earn millions of dollars. And so it's a lack of awareness that is the cause of the problem. Ignorance is the only problem in the world. You eliminate ignorance and all the problems are gone. So it's a lack of awareness of exactly what to do. How do I break out? And that's what I see CEO Space doing for people. It is probably one of the most service-oriented organizations for businesses that exists on the planet, and it's the kind of service that we need. People are hurting today. They're believing what we hear from the media, from the radio, from the television.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Proctor is in the building.
He's got some of the top people in the world in the personal growth industry that come and work here for nada. Don't get a cent. And some of these people are paid $40, $50, up to $100,000 a day. They come here on their own nickel. Why? It's because of the work he's doing. It's because we feel what he's doing is important.
Now, Bob, let's face it, you don't need to be traveling, you don't need to be speaking, you don't need to be working anymore. And I see the passion, I see the love in your eyes, and just standing here. But what keeps you going?
I do have to. You see, I think when you are locked into a mission, you have to follow it. I'm reading Churchill right now. There's a great book, Churchill, 1945 to 1955, and it's really pretty fascinating. In fact, I'll probably quote part of it in here. And he was going to America to make a speech for President Truman in 1945. And there were a couple of 100,000 American and Canadian troops being repatriated, being sent back to North America on the Queen Mary, and he was traveling on the Queen Mary to America to make the speech for Truman. And he said that, and he wanted to speak to the troops. And he said that from this point on, now these were all young guys in their 20s coming back from war, you know. Yeah. He said their future was in their own hands, that their future would be what they made of it. And he said, last night I was up on the bridge, and I was looking at these mountainous waves with anger, just slapping against the ship on all sides. And he said the ship was just cutting right through them. And he thought, what's the difference between the ship and the waves? And he said, the ship has a purpose. It knows where it's going. All these mountainous waves have no purpose. They're just flipping around all over the place. Well, I think that's the way a lot of people live, like the waves. You know, there's no direction, where we've got to have a purpose. And I think that's one of the main things that that CEOs Space teach. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. I love it. Well, I think if every person would sit down and ask themselves, why am I here? You know, what am I doing on the planet? Your purpose is why you're living. And then you build a vision. And the vision is a multiplicity of great goals in the future. And that's how you're going to execute your purpose. And then set a goal. Take a bite out of that vision, the first step you want to take. But you've got to sit down and relax to come up with this. You don't go out and decide on a purpose. You discover your purpose. I think you and I, we're all hardwired to do something really great with our life. We've got more potential than we can even grasp with the imagination. So we've got to sit down and totally relax and say, why am I here? And when you discover your purpose, when you discover what you really love doing, then dedicate your life to it. And encourage everyone you come in contact with to do the same thing. That's what I've been doing for 50 years this October. And if I live for another 50 years, I'll keep doing it.
Well, keep doing it. And as
Good.
I told you off camera, you look the same. I mean, we met 10 years ago. Good looking, handsome.
Thank you.
I mean, you're just in great shape.
You say
And-
that to all the boys.
No, no, no.